Hello and welcome back to our series on Bach's Orgelbüchlein. Today we're looking at one of the miscellaneous chorales, Herr Jesu Christ, dich, wend. It's a very common hymn in the Lutheran Church in Germany, as indeed in Norway and elsewhere, and it simply asks for God's help to sing his praises. So it's a uniformly optimistic and glad hymn. Incidentally, it's usually sung now, both in Germany and in Norway at least, in a rhythmic form rather than in the regularized rhythm that Bach uses. Something like this. Bach's response is an equally positive and cheerful chorale prelude. The chorale melody is across the top, fairly unornamented, and unusually the figuration in the hands and the feet are very highly integrated into the texture. You can see it here on this diagram. The first line of the melody here is echoed first in the lower part of the right hand, that's here, and then in the pedals over here. And then the second line of the melody here is also found in the pedals here, and similarly the third line like this, and the fourth line like this, and so on right through to the end. So the whole thing is shot through with references to the melody. Just look for yourself if you're interested. While we're looking closely at the notes, you might notice one little oddity. Bars 6 to 11 are repeated as bars 12 to 17, which in itself is just a little bit odd because the hymn isn't normally repeated. The last two lines of the hymn we don't generally repeat. But there is one very, very slight difference. You can see it here, that the last beat of bars 6 and 12 are opposite ways up for no apparent reason. And although modern editions write the piece out in full, Bach originally wrote repeat marks, as you can see here. So this was the only bit of the repeated sections that he actually wrote out twice. So whether he had a change of mind and thought it was better that way round in that context, or whether it was just purely unconscious, I'm not quite sure. There's not really a lot of performance issues with the piece. Registration, something bright and cheerful. That very final chord, which is a broken chord, including a third right down in the bass, which makes the final chord very thick, suggests to me not to use a 16-foot manual stop, and probably not even a mixture or a particularly thick reed, because all of those would make it sound a little bit too much. But otherwise, something bright and cheerful. Tempo is going to be fairly obvious from the context. Probably more than usual even, the right tempo is going to depend on the building and the instrument in order to get that sense of movement and flow. And similarly, the articulation really speaks for itself. The chorale melody needs to be fairly legato across the top. It's got written in rests at the ends of the phrases, so you don't need to worry about that. The pedal line occasionally gives you the chorale melody in crotchets, and there they will want to be reasonably legato also to mirror the chorale line in the top. But otherwise you'll want a good lift to heighten that rhythmic drive. So all in all, a bright and cheerful piece for you to enjoy.